Good morning, good evening, and good afternoon, lovely people, depending on where you are watching us from in this beautiful world. Thank you for your patience. We had a slight technical hiccup. I love when that happens. We can always sort it out. But I am just so stoked to have made it on camera here with the beautiful Claire Bodle. Claire, I am so happy that you're here. Our lovely friend Jennifer Sharp connected us and she knew what she was doing. Like when you and I had a quick pre-chat a couple of weeks ago, we had an instant connection. At least I felt that. And I just loved your story so much. And I instantly knew I had to get you on. There's a little bit more to this story, and we're going to get to this. But before we do, I'm going to let you introduce you um, to our audience, please. Welcome. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. This is such a privilege, and I am honestly forever grateful for this opportunity to
Yeah.
speak to Marie and for people to hear my story and
Mm.
about my book, and just immensely very thankful.
Oh, I am so thankful that you're here because your story really touched me. And it's always beautiful having stories that are like literally from a day-to-day life into what then transformed from adversity. I love talking about stories like that because this is what it's all about on Unsilence Grief. And when you shared your story and um I'm not sure if we should take this up front, but I'm just gonna say it. I'm just gonna say it because this really touched me so deeply. When we talked about, I want you on the podcast, and you told me about your husband's passing anniversary, I couldn't believe that I had one lady drop out on that day, which is
Yep,
today.
yep.
So we're delving right into the story with this. But I was so touched because I'm like, do you really want to do this on your husband's anniversary? And you're like, yes,
Yeah,
it is perfect. And
yeah.
it's perfect for one more reason, but we get to that later. Can you kindly share your story, Claire? Because this is such a deep, intense, but also very beautiful story. So I'm gonna hand this over to you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you, Marie.
Mm.
Just to condense it as much as I can. Um, at this time. I met my husband. I actually met my husband when I was 16.
Oh,
And we ended up,
that's a part I love so much.
he thought I was 18, but that's okay.
Mm,
So we dated for a few years and then we got married. I was 22, he was 26.
mhm,
And it was a love story from the get-go. And
mm.
when we got married in 1991, um,
Wow.
quite a while ago, but it was. I actually wanted to get married in the 92 in summer of 92, and my mother
Mhm,
insisted that for 1,000 reasons that we get married in the June of 91, and we did.
mhm.
And then 6 months after we were married, Richard was diagnosed with non-Hodgkin's lymphoma after being unwell for a couple of months. So
Mhm,
he was 26, I was 22. He was diagnosed with aggressive non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had a
mhm,
fist-sized tumor in his chest that was pressing on his trachea. And he had to start aggressive chemotherapy and radiotherapy
mhm,
for 6 months, with that, we also had to get sent to the IVF clinic because what they were going to do to him was probably going to make him infertile with the treatment.
mm.
So we had the treatment, and it was really successful. He got into remission after 6 months,
Mhm,
very intense chemotherapy and radiotherapy. And the key to this was that if he could stay in remission for 5 years, the chances of his cancer coming back was minimal. And we
mm.
got to that hope, like
Of
a lot.
course.
And 5 years and 1 month later, he's literally 5 years and 1 month later, his cancer came back in his abdomen. Um,
Oh, this is just like I'm just thinking because I know some of his story, but I don't know it in as much detail because you and I decided we'll leave the details up for letting it unfold in our podcast here. So for me to just recap that when you're like 20 to 26, you really truly believe you have your whole life ahead of you. We all do. At that age, we don't even think about that topic. Yet you have been touched by it so early into your wedding and at such a young age, and then had to think about all these layers of we want to have children, IVF clinic. There's so many different layers of emotions that come with that. I think sometimes we forget how much we have dealt with in hindsight. So I just wanted to highlight that this is just incredible what you guys have gone through. And then having that 5 year mark, and you were probably celebrating that you
Yes,
made it, and then getting those news a month later. That's just, yeah,
it was soul destroying and
yeah,
heartbreaking. And we had to find in ourselves the strength to
mm,
back up and dust ourselves off and just keep
mm,
going, fighting. And
yeah,
we did. We certainly did. In that 5 years, we enjoyed life.
mm,
We really did. We were young, and before he was diagnosed, so we honestly thought we had the world at our
yeah,
do anything. And so that was being young. I don't know. It was more looking back. It was like a big hiccup we had to get over, and we got over.
mm,
Thought, okay, well, maybe that was it. And we went on amazing holidays, and by this time we had two beautiful children, Emily and Nicola,
wow.
and they were natural. We were told we were.
Wow. That's so beautiful. I love that part. Oh my God.
All three of our children were natural.
Yeah.
And yeah, at 22, when I was told that you're probably not going to be able to have children, maybe not ever be able to have children,
Mm,
they were a beautiful miracle and a blessing. And so we were we had a good life. And as I say in my book, I look back and I still think I believe we had I wouldn't change anything. I thought we had a really good life,
mm,
and I'm very thankful for the life that we did have, and all the good and amazing things that we did and we have, and the life that we lived together, and the family that we started and loved so much. We
mm,
have all that, and I'm very, very thankful that in amidst all the cancer treatments, and then it was 21 years basically of him having, well, after the 5 years, sorry,
mm,
yeah, then it was just treatment for the next
mm.
6 years, constantly, 6 months.
Wow.
And then we never knew what was going to happen with each scan. More treatment,
Mm,
more chemotherapy, more radiotherapy, trial treatments. It was relentless. And but we kept going,
mm,
and we tried to keep our family as normal as possible. And we just lived our lives. And
mm,
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma is treatable.
mm.
It is treatable, and you can live with it. And
Yeah.
and and he did, and we did as a family. Uh, and
16 years past it coming back is an incredible time, really. And I understand that it is such a bittersweet message, what I'm saying here right now, but having those 16 years is
yeah,
such a gift in adversity. It really is. And I just admire what you said there before, that you lived a normal life.
yeah,
Despite everything going on, you lived a normal life. You had three beautiful kids, and healthy kids naturally. And that just blows my mind. That is just such a beautiful gift amidst all of that you guys been dealing with anyway. So
yes.
wow.
Yeah, and well, we were stoked just with one little baby girl, and then to have
Hmm.
two more that came
Hmm.
unexpectedly was
Yeah.
so beautiful and such a blessing. And we
Mm.
we were honestly so thankful and so grateful for everything we did have, um, amidst all the rest of the stuff going on.
Yeah.
We had a great family. We had a beautiful little family, and I think we had a lovely little life. And
Hmm.
so thankful and grateful for that time we had.
Yeah.
tomorrow's never promised, as I know, and
Yeah.
I think we made the most of the time that we did have together as a family.
Mm.
Mm.
I understand this question might throw the timeline off a little bit, but I really want to pick you up on something that you just said. The tomorrow is never promised. Your girls, how old are they now?
Oh, so my daughter's the oldest. She's 31, and then
Yeah.
two sons. So
Oh, okay. Because
yeah,
you said you had two more. I thought two more girls, two more kids. Yeah. How old are your sons?
so 29,
Yeah.
and little surprise
So
package at the
I,
end.
I'm not even going to ask you if, because I'm pretty sure that it has come up,
Yeah.
but I might be wrong. At what age or at what moment came that question from your kids, if at all? What if something happens to you?
Okay, so to me now, since my husband's died, or
Hmm.
before that.
Since he has passed.
Oh,
Or maybe in your story it was different because there was the cancer journey. In my story,
yeah.
Rob died really suddenly, so there was no lead up to it. So maybe the question has come earlier in your case. I don't know.
So my Richard never wanted to burden the kid
Mm.
with knowing that he had cancer, and I did want to tell them because I didn't want
Mm.
finding out from
Yeah.
someone else, and that's exactly
Hmm.
what happened. My daughter
Mm.
heard a conversation, and then we had to have the conversation. But that went. Kids are amazing. Kids are so
Mm.
resilient, so resilient.
Yeah.
And I think Emily and Nicholas were maybe 12 and 10 at the time, and we had the conversation, age appropriate conversation.
Mm.
And of course the first thing they said was, "Is Dad going to die?"
Mm.
And it was well at that time when happened to be well, because there were moments when there were times when long periods of time when he was well, even when he was
Mm.
having so he was well when we were telling him that, we're telling the kids that. And I wanted to tell them that just having cancer isn't necessarily a death sentence. A lot of people live
Mm.
with cancer and live for a long time. So
Hmm.
so we had that conversation about him then,
Hmm.
and they just got on with their little lives, and then cancer just became part of our family, but in a
Mm.
good way. Yeah,
Was there a relief for you that they then knew and that you could, yeah, I can only
yeah,
imagine.
for me, it was a relief. And I think Richard in
Mm.
the end thought, yeah, actually, this has been a positive thing for us to
Yeah.
tell the kids, age appropriately,
Yeah.
you know. So thereafter, since Richard's died, I know that it's an unspoken question by every one of.
Yeah.
And actually, you've just reminded me when my younger son, Zach, who I call Moon Pie,
I'm sure he's gonna love you sharing that to the world. I love it.
Moon Pie, he went. I had to take him to the hospital last year because he had some abdominal pain, and I thought maybe it was appendicitis or something.
Mm.
Anyway, they were happy for him to go home, so I took him and brought him home. And in the car on
Mhm.
the way home, he said to me, I have to die before you die." And I said, "Why?" He goes, I can't do this without without you being here with me. So I have to die before you." And
I just had goosebumps all over my body. Oh,
that's not how it works.
yeah.
That's not how it works. And I will die before you, and that is rightly how it should be. And hopefully, I have a lot of years left on the
Yeah.
you, my darling,
Yeah.
my beautiful, all my children and all my grandchildren.
Mm.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah.
It
So
is such an emotional question because this is it. We are of all people, and I'm sitting here, I'm having goosebumps all over my body just having this conversation with you. We out of all people know how within an instant life can be over, and
yeah,
none of us are given the when and how. And to convey that message to our children without them being scared is really almost impossible, but making it a normal conversation, talking about it, I think this is so, so important. And I have noticed that we really shy away from having those direct, open conversations, age appropriate, as you say, but really talking about those things. And I even now, like, so for us, it's been close to 7 years. For you, it's been 12 years today. um,
Yep.
we still have conversations come up, and I'm glad that they have become normal to talk about because of what we've been through, where we talk about death or even suicide, questions like that, mental health check on my kids. They're teenagers, they're going through
Oh,
a lot without adversity, but
yeah,
throw that in the mix. And then not having anybody who's experienced the same thing, which is often the case. Sometimes they do have friends where it happened as well, but often it's the case that they don't. So
yes,
going through all of that, I think having these open conversations, kudos to you. It is so important. I cannot stress enough about the importance of that for anybody listening to that, sitting on the fence, not knowing should I not. It is so important to have these conversations openly with your kids because trust me, if you think about it, they most likely think about it too. So I'm a big believer in talk to your children. Don't sugarcoat anything. Yes, make it age appropriate, but be open and honest about it, even your own fears. I very recently had very, very open conversations with lots of tears involved, and it is so healing and good to have these conversations. So I
I
think it's great.
I absolutely 100% agree.
Yeah.
Everything you've just said. And
Mm,
when we left the ICU, the day that Richard died, the afternoon Richard
mm,
died, they gave me a folder. It was really thick, and it was called the
mhm.
death folder, which
The what? Sorry, you were breaking up.
it was called the traumatic death folder. And
Okay.
yeah, well, that was never going to be a good read. Um,
No,
but
the title in itself is quite
and
off-putting.
yeah, and
Mm,
read it for a long time. I didn't pick it up for a long time or opened it.
mhm,
I wrote this in my book because there was two things that I took from. I didn't read it all. I probably read
mhm.
like the first page. I think
Yeah.
read it. That it said, number one, never ever ever stop talking about the person
Mm,
who has died and who has
yeah.
so suddenly. And my instinct was not to, because it just brought up so much hurt
Mm,
and fear and sadness. And
yeah.
it ripped at the very fabric of my soul every time I said Dad or Richard.
Mm,
Made myself keep saying it. Kept making that happen in conversations, and it hurt me
yeah.
so much to do it. But 12 years down the
Mm,
track, I am so glad that
mhm.
that piece of advice and that he
Yeah.
was we speak about Richard and the kid's dad in such a loving and fun,
Mm,
playful way now, and
yeah.
they're good memories, they're great memories, and it's more
Mm,
sad. And
yeah.
the piece of advice I took from that folder was um, not to let your children see you sad, see you down,
Mm,
let them see you grieve, because
yeah.
they will see you get up and dust yourself off and move.
Yeah.
But it is, and again, the mama instinct in me wanted to shield them from. I didn't want them to
Mm,
be sad and
yeah.
completely broken I was, but they did need to see that, because now they see how strong I am and how
Mm.
resilient I am, and I think they are too. I, I,
Cheering you on one mama bear to another. I often thought about this myself, and I think for me, I really decided that case by case, and sometimes I couldn't even decide. It just overcame me, and I cried in front of them, and that was fine. And other times I had the feeling, I needed to do this on my own, and it was a bit of everything. Sometimes I would sit in a bathtub and just cry, and other times I would be in nature or be in the car and just cry, and then and other times I would sit with them and they would cry and I hold them and then I start crying, or vice versa. I cry and then they start crying. But I think there's this, as a mom, you just get this on the spot sort of decision where you just have to trust your gut instinct when it's okay to
Yeah.
put yourself first or them first.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's really important also to be strong for them and hold it together for them. And other times it's really even more so important to be weak for them. Or I don't even want to call it weak. It's such a horrible word for be
Vulnerable.
real. Let's call it be real. Just let your tears flow and open up your heart and just whatever happens. And I think that is just so tremendously important because we are setting the example. However we deal with our grief is how they deal with our grief, with their grief. And even if they have different ways, we can show them ways how to actually deal with it. And um, I want to get to your book because we have a few minutes left. Still, we've got like 5 to 10 minutes left, and I just really want to talk about how you actually came through this entire journey of the cancer discovery and remission and cancer coming back and that becoming part of your life, having three beautiful children.
Uh,
There was so much actually in this entire journey
yeah.
until Richard's passing. And at what stage did you actually decide, I'm going to be his voice? I'm going to write about this.
Okay. That's such a good question. I have, since I've written this book, so many people have asked me that question,
Mm,
and it was from the early within in the first year I went to see a psychologist.
mhm.
He suggested I start journaling, which
Oh, beautiful. Love it.
was and she was amazing, and I did start journaling, and I
Mhm,
think I had never journaled before. I've never written a book before,
mhm,
and I started journaling, and it kind of it was unbelievable. It
mhm,
like putting my heart and my soul onto paper, and it was
mm.
personal and very private. So I never thought
Yeah.
anyone would ever read it.
Mm,
The more I wrote, the more I thought this is unbelievable. This is if this was a book, you wouldn't believe it, and
mm,
it's remarkable. And Richard's story of how his fight, for 21 years that he had cancer for, his fight was inspirational and remarkable. And then our story
mm,
after, my story, my children's story, our story. It's just, I think it's remarkable, and I wanted to tell Richard's. And then it just all kind of evolved organically, and I just wanted to. He doesn't have a voice anymore per
mm,
se, and I wanted to be his voice. I wanted to tell his story, and
mhm,
in the hope that maybe someone in a similar situation might find hope, and can resonate with some things that I was saying, that it may help even one person in the whole wide world, because there were so many people and so many things that helped me, and it's my chance to give back.
mm.
That's where it came from. Journaling, or organically journaling, and it kind of just also wrote itself.
I love that. I just want to say that it really evolved organically, and that's what I love so much about it. Um, Reader question here.
Yeah.
Is your love story in the book as well? How you and Richard met?
Yes, it is in the
Love it. Love it. That's all I needed to know. Well, I knew, but I wanted the
yeah.
audience to know.
So in my book, there's some funny moments, and that was some funny moments. Our dating, some funny moments, and
Yeah.
there's funny moments all the way through it.
Mm.
So I didn't want the book to be a pity party or doom and gloom.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be real, but there are
Mm.
funny real moments in it too, which I love and I hang on to
Yeah.
very, very much.
I love this so much. What I also love for you is that you are doing your book launch tomorrow, right?
Yes, tomorrow night.
How excited are you about that?
I know I'm a little bit terrified, but far more excited than
Yeah.
I am terrified. And I'm really, really, really looking forward to it. This has been 12 years in the making.
Wow.
And it took me, and it's not a big book, but it took me 2 years to write it, because it's
Mm.
a lot of emotional content in it. And
Yeah.
um, I'm so happy with it, and for Jennifer Sharp, my publicist, Jill Worthington, the editor, who have helped me and been on this journey with me for the past year. Amazing. I'm so happy. I'm so at peace. I have closure, and I've got so much healing just from writing the book, and it's going to the world to.
It is very cathartic. It's just such a beautiful process, just sharing straight from your heart. And what I love the most, and I know we just said it before, but I want to highlight that again. What I love the most is that it started off as a journal. You know, it was really just, you never thought anybody would read it. And I strongly believe this is what makes it so beautiful and so authentic, that you didn't even think about who's going to read it. You just wrote from your heart, and that makes it the most beautiful share ever. I just love it. And can you please share the whole title with our audience?
Yes, it's called I Will Be Your Voice. Your wings were ready, but my heart was not.
Yeah. Don't worry if you didn't get that, because we will put the link in the show notes. So after the interview, I always go back and put your bio in and all the links where people can connect with you and get the book, of course. So I am so grateful to Jennifer Sharp that she has connected the two of us. I'm so happy that you are in my circle. It's just beautiful to see somebody from such an authentic point of view, like how you live your life, what you've done with it, the beautiful shining example that you are. I always call it the mama bear in shining armor. You can happily wear that title too. I love it.
And you as well. I already know that you are the mama shining armor as well, and we hold each other up and support each other, because there's a lot of mama bears out there that are walking the same journey that we have, and every little bit of help, and I've had amazing family and friends that have helped us and me along the way, and
it's beautiful. Shout out to all of them, seriously, because I think that's what the world needs more of, to have people support one another, to hold space for one another. We don't need to fix anything. We just need to be there and listen. That's the most amazing support that you can give. And this was my little wrap up, but I'm going to give you the chance. If there's anything that you would like for people to take away from this podcast, and you can sum it up in one line, what would that be?
Oh, wow.
No pressure. Putting you on the spot there.
If you want to, I would love you just to read my book, my story. It's real, it's real, it's raw, it's honest, it's a love story, it's a story of loss, deep sadness and grief, but the rebuilding and the healing and the growing, and just being able to finally be happy, just be happy, to be happy, and to live a fulfilling life, because I know that's what Richard would have wanted for all of us, to be happy and to live our best lives. And
I love that. Because love just wants you to be happy, right? So that's always my favorite line of it all. So Claire, I wish you all the best for the book launch tomorrow. I'm so excited for you for that. I hope you've got enough copies that you can sell them all there, and that people read your story, and that your story goes far and beyond and spreads hope and love and healing to this world, because that's really what we're there for. So thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Everybody,
Beautiful.
thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody listening to this, if you get value out of that, please feel free to share it. And if you'd like to hear more, you can subscribe to our weekly episodes of Unsilence Grief. This is Claire and Marie signing off. We should call it Marie Claire. I love it. Thank you for being here. Bye for